2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys growing on you live. And today I'm going to be having on my dude, Pieter Vandenberg. I kind of draw that out a little bit. Pieter Vandenberg, this is going to be so sick. I can't wait. My dude has been in some sick bands, connected up. We're going to get this bad boy started. We're going to talk a little This Is Hell, some other things. Peter, what's going on, man?
What's going on, dude? How are you?
Dude, thank you so much for taking your time today. I really appreciate it, man. First and foremost, I want to get that out there. Thank you.
Oh, dude, my pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, this is so sick. So it's been so
yeah.
cool, just as far as kind of hearing some of the stories today. We're going to talk, some of your kind of background with music and whatnot, but then also your involvement with This Is Hell and other bands and different things like that. So if you're all comfy, I've got a couple of icebreaker questions right off the bat here I'm going to throw your way, and then we're going to dig right into the old content here.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Sweet. All right, off the top of your head, if you can think of anything as far as when you've gone to the CD store or a vinyl, a record shop, what is an album that you have chosen based off of the cover art? What is something that you've gone in and you saw it and you're like, damn, what the hell is that?
I wonder if I'm going to have to put my phone down and go digging through my collection over here.
Okay.
I think one time we were on tour, and I don't remember where it was, but, Rick and Travis and I every once in a while like to pop in a record store and see what's up. And I got a picture disc of what I think is the best thrash album of all time, Rust in Peace. And it's the four dudes. So it's in a clear case. It's just the record, and it's got, the four dudes on the cover and a bit of the artwork and stuff like that. So I saw that and I was like, I will never put this on a record player ever. I will never let a needle touch it, but I'm buying it because this is the sickest thing I've ever seen. So
that is awesome. Yeah. That rips.
So
I don't think I've ever seen that before either.
Yeah, I don't know. I just happened to pop into a thing. Honorable mention to, I was in touring in Germany, and we went to this tiny little record shop, and I actually got a test pressing of Step Into the Arena. And so I pulled out, it's a white case. I pulled it out. I'm like, what even is this? And I look, and like barely still legible on the inside, it says Step Into the Arena test pressing. And I was like, the guy's like 40 euros. I was like, I don't even care. Here you go. I gotta have this.
I would have to do the math a little bit. I would probably, I wouldn't even be worrying about what it was I was spending, and not even figure it out. Like, what is it? I'll give it to you. There you go.
Probably my per diem for the entire tour, but fuck it.
Nice. I love that. All right, so tell me about, through this pandemic and different things, different people have kind of had different ways of getting some things done. If you had the opportunity to, make like a dream side project with 3 or 4 other members, who would be in this band with you, just for like one album?
It's actually really funny because with Rick and Tom from Extinction A.D, we actually have something we're hopefully going to release in the next month or so. We're kind of just doing final mixes, and then hopefully we'll get a cheap master somewhere and then put it out. But we're keeping it on the DL for right now. I think if you like any of the bands that we've been in, I think you'll dig it. So
sweet. Yeah, nice. That's cool. You said Rick, and who was the other one?
And Tom, who plays bass.
Okay.
Yeah. So
sick. That is awesome.
We had a lot of fun. It's like, no rules. Who cares? Let's just have fun. Insane.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I mean, that's sweet. Surely, after I can, speak on saying after This Is Hell, seeing, Extinction A.D becoming a thing and hearing, some of the stuff that's come out of there. We'll dig into that a little bit later. But yeah, I look forward to that. That's sick.
Cool, man. Awesome.
So tell me about, as far as, as a young man, what music was playing that caught your attention, whether it be maybe in the car or at home? What were some things that really, resonated with you?
So it's funny because both my parents were very big on having music all the time, on in the house, on in the car. And, my parents are a bit older, they're in their 70s. So it was a lot of like, my dad's huge into 70s rock. Like for me, Pink Floyd is like my favorite band of all time because
nice.
I've been, hearing him in the car since I was 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So, stuff like that, like Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, Poco,
Nice.
Leonard Cohen, stuff like that. So that's kind of the stuff I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an only child, so I didn't have any like older brothers to sort of guide me. So a lot of the stuff that I found was just through friends or MTV when MTV had music and stuff like that. So
Okay. Now,
yeah, like
I mean,
Headbangers
coming
Ball.
into having conversations with friends and things, what were some things that they put you onto? Maybe even heavier music.
So I had my good buddy Cameron. His older brother was super into like Deftones and sort of
Oh,
that era,
yes.
mid to late 90s sort of heavy stuff. And I remember being in his room and hearing White Pony for the first time and being like, what is this? Like, I've never heard anything like this before.
Totally.
I'm like, this like, not sheltered, but I'm like this kid who's used to listening to like 70s rock. And I'm like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Travis,
totally.
I'm not.
Can you go back to the first time? May it be a paycheck or maybe like an allowance? What's the first album you remember buying, or a CD,
Oh
tape? What's the first thing you remember getting yourself?
Columbia Music House, right? You would get like the 20 things for like $10 or whatever.
Okay.
This is not the most metal admission of all time, but it was definitely the Jurassic Park soundtrack.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
Yeah,
what was all on it? The soundtrack from the movie?
It was just the music to the movie. I was a kid. Nice. I was obsessed with the movie, and I saw it. It was a black cover with the red dinosaur, like the red T.H skeleton on the front.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna buy this. And that was the first CD I ever used my own money from like mowing the lawn to buy.
Damn, that is sick. That's awesome. I don't ever remember seeing that. I have some different soundtracks like on vinyl or CD or tapes and things like that. I don't ever remember seeing that. That'd be something awesome, man. Do you still have it?
Oh my God, I had a CD wallet stolen out of my car like 10 years ago. Someone broke into my car and like I had like 3 or 4 CD wallets and they cleaned it all out. So that stuff's all gone, but that's probably just on Spotify anyway. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just kind of the nostalgia of still having, like things like that, or like the case with it and everything like that is always something cool. But man, that's a bummer. Assholes and stealing shit, Get your own.
Yeah, they didn't even take my record. They didn't even take the disc player in the car. They just took my CD wallet and cleaned out my change cup.
Man,
I was like, okay.
They're looking for some new music, I guess. Maybe they saw the stickers on your bumper there, and they're like, I gotta check this out.
Yeah, they're gonna hate that it's like 75% burned CDs. So
yeah, it serves them right. So now, tell us about where your interest from playing music went into, or for your interest from listening to playing. How did that all kind of transition?
So I had an older cousin who actually gave me my first guitar. It was this junky nylon string acoustic. I actually still have it. None of the tuning pegs still work. It's like basically rotten at this point, but he gave me that. And then he was also like, he was the first time I ever heard like Morbid Angel and stuff like that. And I remember he had this poster of Marilyn Manson, probably from, and I'm going to butcher the name of the record. What's it? Portrait of an American Family or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He had a poster of that on his wall, and I remember being terrified of it. Like, what is this? And then, same thing here at Morbid Angel, being terrified. So he gave me my first guitar, and then I had taken piano lessons as like a young kid and stuff. And I remember being like, well, guitar is 1,000 times cooler than the piano. So then I started, learning some stuff. And by that point, I was really into sort of like 90s alternative. Like, I was really big on Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Nirvana, Nevermind, that kind of stuff. So what was good about Nirvana was those songs are relatively easy to play. So, everyone wants to learn how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit and Come As You Are and stuff like that. So that was sort of, for me, the initial push to start trying to play guitar and stuff.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
But now, initially, you had said that you had played piano. Was that when you were real young then?
Yeah. I think that was like, I started doing that maybe when I was in like elementary school, and I just at that age, it was like if I couldn't do it easily right off the bat, I just started to lose interest in it. And I think I was sort of like pushed into it by my parents.
Oh, okay.
My mom had a musical background and stuff, so
Mm-hmm.
uh, I I liked it. I liked listening to it. I just didn't enjoy playing the piano. It didn't do it for me. But then I
Oh,
played the
sure.
guitar, and I was like, it made me want to like sit down and try and figure stuff out and get better. And so,
Now, did you get like as far as even just learning different things with scales or with, reading sheet music with piano to where that kind of progressed with playing guitar and different things further on?
yeah, so definitely learning to read sheet music from piano helped me, I think, initially. Excuse me.
Okay.
I remember I got gifted a Doors songbook. And when you think of the Doors, you don't really think of the guitar in there. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember opening this thing up and I'm looking at these tabs like, what is this guy playing? Like that whole band is centered around the keyboards. So it's
Yeah.
like, Robbie Krieger does a lot of like, he's like filling in the gaps, it's kind of like a role reversal. So that wasn't a very good songbook to get right off the
Yeah,
bat.
it's tough.
Yeah. And then I ended up taking lessons, and the guy I took lessons from was this very accomplished sort of classical, Spanish style guitar playing. So he gave me one of the first books, which was like intro to finger style stuff, and he was teaching me some sort of like flamenco things, and it was fun because we had an hour lesson. Travis, for God's sakes, I'm not stoned. Like, get over it. So like we would spend 45 minutes, learning scales, learning how to read music, doing other stuff. And then the last 15 minutes, he'd be like, bring in a song that you want to learn how to play. And he just could listen to it, would figure it out and be like, here's how you play this thing. So we started to do some stuff that way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's always, I mean, drums wise, that's always been something with me where I've been able to pick up by ear, but guitar and bass, I mean, that's one thing where I see people do that shit. I'm just like, God damn you, man. Like,
Yeah, right.
you listen to something twice and you just play the whole thing through, shredding it. You're like, son of a bitch.
That's Ian and the guitar player of Extinction A.D. He just like hears and goes, "Oh, this is Bobby Blibbity Blibbity," and I'm looking at him like, "You are an alien. Get out of here."
Nice. Now, from your interest playing and initially, kind of where did that step go into playing in bands or starting your first band?
Right. So eighth grade graduation. They my middle school wanted to have a battle of the bands. So me and my two best friends, we decided we were going to start a band and we were going to do this. So we had a buddy who just had moved that year who actually played bass, and we're like, oh my God, there's a bass player. So the four of us ended up learning, we learned two songs. The song was called Lime Green, and I forget the name of the band. It was just like an easy little punk song. And then we covered Jump Around. The Limp Bizkit version, I think of it is. Limp Bizkit version of Jump Around. And we got in so much fucking trouble because we kept all the curses in.
Oh my God.
So that was sort of the first time. Shit. And after that, going into high school, every year my high school at the end of the year did a battle of the bands. So, you got like half an hour or whatever. So we would learn a bunch of punk songs because at that point, we were going to like Warped Tours and stuff, and we're learning about like Rancid and H2O and stuff like that. So we would cover these bands, and people would just kind of look at us like, "What even is this song?" Because I'm from like from straight up like suburban Connecticut. Like a lot of people where I grew up were not into that stuff at all. So we're playing it because we wanted to play it, but so that was
there was only like a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I mean that was.
I was just gonna say so.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so there wasn't much of a draw or interest with that, like kind of within your school. It was just a close couple of buddies that drew together, just because like you're the only ones who was listening to the stuff.
Exactly. So we were the group that would go to Warped, and we would go to these other shows and stuff, and then we'd play the songs that we heard there.
Yeah.
I mean, we wrote some originals too, and I think people mostly just came to see us because they were our friends at that point anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay. With getting a little bit more serious and kind of doing a little bit of traveling, touring, different things like that. what was the first band that you did some of that stuff with, and what were some of the experiences that you had doing that for the first
So
times?
the first real tour I ever did, I mean, first tour flat out, was when I joined Enwell. Um,
Okay.
I was playing on in a band called Last Conviction here on Long Island. Actually, Brian of Incendiary's a former member. Scuzz played drums.
Yeah. Okay.
We were playing a bit, and Scuzz tried out for Enwell and got in. And then sometime, I'm not sure what happened, but members change in bands or whatever, and they were looking for a bass player. I had admittedly never played bass before, but it's one of those things where I think if you play the guitar, you can sort of fudge the bass a little bit. I wouldn't
Right.
consider, not a bass player by any means, but I can play the bass.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I remember Endwell was playing Amityville Music Hall. I forget what the show was. So I went out to see them, and it was, it spoke to Sean, the singer, and I was like, listen, I know you're looking, like, I'd be interested to play with you guys. And he's like, all right, well, let's do a jam. And so went down to Staten Island. I tried to learn some songs by ear. We were practicing at Staten Island at that time. Jammed a couple songs, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to go on tour for 6 weeks. And right after that, we're going to go to Europe for another 4. So I kind of dove in the deep end.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and what's interesting is I was working my first job out of college then, and I quit to do it. So we're in the van. We drove to Kansas, played one show in Kansas, and the start of the tour was Chain Reaction out in LA. So we were just going to drive straight from Kansas to LA, get there for the first show, and we're all good. As we're leaving Kansas, what just happened in Texas weather-wise happened. This is 2009, I think. Like, unbelievable record, ice and snow, just crazy shit.
What the hell? Holy
it was
shit.
out of nowhere. It took us, we didn't even make it to the first show.
Oh no.
We were like blowing fuses in the van and losing our headlights at times. We had this old, it wasn't even a 15 passenger, it was a 12 passenger van. We're like hanging on by a thread somewhere in like West Texas. It's 2 feet of snow. It took us, I think, maybe 48 hours to get to Arizona.
Damn.
Where we ended up staying with a friend. And then we did the second show of the tour, I think, was in Mesa. So we ended up making the second thing. And I remember driving somewhere, in middle of the night, freezing cold, like, did I make the right choice? Like, what have I done?
Damn
but,
it.
the rest of that tour was awesome. It was a ton of fun. And then, we were off for 4 days, and then we flew over to Europe to do, I think it was 4 weeks with Shiloh. So it was like a crazy learning experience. Like, this is what touring is. So yeah, and that was the rest, started my actual career touring in bands and stuff. So.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's kind of something too. It's a real test, as far as having that being your first time, and then all of the shit happening right off the get-go. It's like, am I really wanting to be here? Am I really, it kind of shows like a little bit of like a persevering, like, get through this shit, and then the rest of the thing's gonna be, it's gonna be a good experience. So that's nice to hear that the rest of it, wasn't a crock of shit, and then you're just like,
no,
I'm good.
I mean, I think every tour's got its fair share of ups and downs. But as long as the shows and stuff like that you're having fun, it's a good time, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Better ups than
so now
downs.
you had mentioned, yeah, sure. You had mentioned it was Last Conviction was the first band that you and Mike had played in together then, before Endwell?
Yep. So
Okay.
I met them through a friend of mine in college. And just got to know the guys in the band, and then eventually a guitar spot opened up. So I got a chance to play guitar with them, and we did. We played some shows and stuff like that. So it was a different level than my band in high school. So it was like a good step up. The music was tougher. All the guys in the band were better players, and like, certainly I had never really played in a metal band before. So it was a good, kind of. I think it helped me get my chops up too.
Oh,
and
sure.
then
Okay.
so I think I was much more ready to then join Enwell when the time came.
Now, what was this 2010, 11?
I think Enwell was 2009, I believe.
9. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Okay.
maybe the very end of. No, you know what? I think it was. Yeah, it must have been 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had you played any shows with This Is Hell at all, or kind of other than Mike
No.
now? Had you kind of crossed paths with the guys at all?
Yeah. So I actually, before I was ever in Last Conviction, they played the Sundowning record release show on the island,
Mm.
and so that was the first time I'd ever seen This Is Hell live. And I at that time I wasn't super into hardcore so much. I was kind of more into metal and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly that sort of late 90s, early 2000s metalcore kind of stuff. Killswitch, Lamb of God, Unearth, that kind of thing. So, and I remember
Sure.
just really enjoying it, and thinking Rick was an absolute animal, out of his mind on stage. Like, how can this dude play guitar and do the shit that he's doing?
Right.
More time, spending
Still
more time in
today.
the air than on the ground. So,
Yeah.
and then maybe a year or two later, again, Last Conviction played with Soldiers, and I actually got introduced to Rick. I think that was the first time we ever actually met. And then, so I'd been a fan of the band. I remember I've seen them again, I think, in the city when they were on tour with the. I loved Misfortunes. So at that point, full on fan of the band.
Sweet.
Yeah, and sort of the way we ended up hooking up was through a mutual friend, between me and Rick, our buddy Bill Ryan. This is how I was looking for a bass player, and I think Bill told him, I was like, oh well, my buddy Pete plays. He plays in Enwell. He's not an asshole. Like, so maybe see if you would work. So Rick and I ended up getting in touch, and I think same thing. I tried to do a little bit of homework before we jammed the first time.
Mm.
I think I could figure out Permanence pretty easily, at least the riff from Permanence and stuff. So we went over, we jammed some songs. Rick probably painstakingly had to teach me some stuff, but that was sort of the start of me playing with This Is Hell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you had mentioned even initially seeing like the permanence playthrough and different things. You weren't so much into hardcore. Where did that interest come from? As far as kind of being into the metalcore type thing, going straight into the hardcore subgenre, if you will. Where did some of that interest come from for you?
So I think my intro to heavy music is probably nu metal, in all honesty.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I remember seeing the Faith music video for Limp Bizkit, and immediately being like, I want to tour on a bus. I want to be in a band. That looks like the sickest thing of all time.
Nice.
And then, so as always happens with gateway bands, you then get to expand more and more and more. And, I distinctly remember seeing the I'm Broken music video and being like, what the fuck is this? This is unreal. Like, Pantera's my favorite metal band, but I have a super late pass on them. Just because,
Okay.
my group of friends, that wasn't really the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe in terms of my introduction to hardcore, it would be H2O, seeing them at Warped Tour, and being
Nice.
like, oh, like
Nice.
I really, I think they were touring on it's their third record, and I'm having a brain fart on the name.
Let's see.
The one after Thicker Than Water.
Yeah. There's Go, Thicker Than Water. Shit.
Faster Than the World. Faster
Yeah,
Than the
okay,
World.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go.
And then I got their, they had that tape that they put out, it was sort of like a band biography or whatever it was. And I would watch that until the tape snapped off the reel. Because that too was like,
nice.
And there's a shot of them playing in Eindhoven, and Toby's just going like this, and the entire, like, thousands of people just running in a big fucking circle. And again, another one of those things where I was like, I want to do that. Like, how do I get into this? So
Right, right. Is there an application process? Like, where,
yeah, right.
how does this come about?
Yeah,
Yeah, I could say H2O and Sick of It All were definitely earlier hardcore, introductions for me. And then kind
yep,
of it was like the Agnostic Front and going back into more of the New York, East Coast end. But Sick of It All and H2O
yeah.
were both really early introductions too. And I think they were a little bit, I don't want to say accessible because that almost makes it
I
sound
think
like
that's
it's like weaker, but it was almost a little bit more of an accessibility, into the genre and be like, okay, this isn't
yeah,
so abrasive.
bit more melodic than say like
Yeah,
Madball or something
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that. So
yeah.
that's certainly why. I mean, I was going to say accessible, so I think that's relatively spot on. So
Sweet. Okay.
yeah,
So you touched on this a little bit, but as far as coming to play with This Is Hell and then started to tour and different things, where did that come into play as far as becoming more of like a permanent spot? Pre it was Weight of the World, right? Just after like their first
yeah,
tour. Okay.
yeah. So I think they had just done 10 for 10,
Mm.
and
Okay.
um, I think that's around the time that Andrew left. He was playing bass for them at that time.
Mm.
So they were just about to do the AP tour, which was like,
Mm.
which for me, I was shitting a brick before the first show in that because I had never played for that kind of crowd. I mean, it was headlined by Bring Me the Horizon. So it was massive, massive shows.
Huge.
Um,
Mm.
so I kind of thought of it as, well, I'm going to do this tour, and hopefully that just means that they want me to be in the band. And what's actually funny is my very first show with them was Tombstone Fest at Amityville
Oh shit.
Music Hall,
Okay.
and all three former This Is Hell bass players were there. So it was Jeff, Johnny, and Andrew all watching me play for the first time. And
Oh boy.
Jeff's a little bit of a ball buster. So I think right before he went on, he's like, "Don't fuck it up." I was like, "I did."
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
And
Yeah.
I think Dan was there. Dan Burke was there too. So it was like I'm basically playing for like all these ex This Is Hell members. Like I can't suck. Like I really
Yeah.
can't suck. So, but
Okay.
no, it's a fun show.
Everything
And
went
then,
well with that show?
yeah, it was a good show. And then I
Good.
think 5 days later we're in the Crowfoot in Detroit playing for like 1,700 people.
Sick.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
trying not to shit my pants.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now you start off with touring, doing some different, shows and different things like that. And
Mhm.
then Black Mass was the first album that you played on recorded and
Yep.
were part of the sessions there. What can you tell us about what can you tell us about the sessions there and maybe some differences writing and playing with This Is Hell as opposed to other times that you've had?
Yeah. So what was interesting about Black Mass as opposed to the record I did with Endwell, we kind of wrote it over a summer and even wrote 2 songs while we were in the studio. We had a ton of time and we were sleeping there, so you had the time to sort of try different things and do stuff. With Black Mass, Rick had the songs written
Mm,
and
okay.
I think he had been even thinking about doing it in a different project. And then we're kind of like, well, we should do this with This Is Hell. I mean, you already had Weight of the World, which had already kind of, started to change the sound a bit, more crossover, more punk, a little more metallic. So Black Mass to me feels like a natural progression. Songs are, they're a bit more metal. There's a bit more, I think, some sort of maybe not progressive in the sense of like it's Dream Theater progressive, but different progression, I
Yeah.
think, from Rick and sort of the way he was writing riffs on that. So going into that recording session, I knew everything I was doing top to bottom, and it was a bit of a different experience, but it was being that prepared was so nice because I did the bass in I think 2 hours just because I knew
Oh
what I was
wow.
doing and
Yeah.
I had I'd sat down and spent time with Rick, while we were sort of practicing to get those songs together, and even like a couple days before when we were already at the studio, because I think Travis said it in the interview we did with him. I think we had 10 days or something, 2 weeks maybe total.
Yeah.
Um,
That's crazy.
so my thought was kind of like, well, this is my first recording with this band. Once again, I can't fuck it up. I gotta have shit together when I'm doing this. So yeah, I felt like I was ready to go, and I think I even kind of maybe surprised myself with how ready I was for it.
Shit. Okay.
But it was a really fun experience. Tomas was a fun dude. It was mostly him and I. Rick would come, pop in, and just once again make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong. But I was I was feeling very, very good going into that. So it was a really good experience, and it was fun being out in LA. I think we were in Studio City, and I had a friend of mine who's one of my best friends from college, lived a 5-minute walk away, so I'd go see him and stuff like that. So it was a good time. It was a fun. I think we were all prepared, so it was relatively relaxing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot more, maybe compared to other times, did you do a lot more playing at home and kind of going over stuff just to kind of maintain being a little more comfortable in the studio, or what, was it just kind of your approach to do it a couple of times and be like, all right, I'm not going to sweat this?
Yeah, I think I did a lot of time, put in a lot of time, sitting in front of my computer, rewind the song, go back, rewind, the demo, that is, rewind the demo, go back to the beginning. All right, do that part again, then sort of try to work stuff out. But I think we played maybe like a week's worth of shows going out there too. And we were playing a lot of these new songs because it was a way for us to sort of prime and get ready, to actually record them and stuff. So,
sure.
Certainly, I think we were like Wars Part 1 and Salt the Earth. And maybe Demons too. It was like 2 or 3 songs we were pretty tight on by the time we got out to actually record.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. So from that process and from, playing, you did some touring after the album, right? With the band still?
Oh, yeah. We did, I think we did, let's see, we did Headliner. We did, we did Soundwave in Australia. We did Reading and Leeds. We did Resurrection Fest in Spain. We did Heavy Fest. So we did a good amount of touring on Black Mass. And I think we damn near played almost every song in that record live too, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at the track listing here, I'm pretty sure. We played it. Yeah. Maybe I don't think we ever played like maybe Wars Part 2 or Black History, but we probably played everything else over the course of that time. So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Where does playing music, where does it go after that? I know you've been involved in Extinction A.D. How did that whole thing go as far as after Black Mass? Where did you go musically?
I think well, I don't really remember so well what the transition was into Extinction A.D. I think it was sort of collectively people were kind of overdoing This Is Hell in a way. And we wanted, I know Rick really wanted to do something more like straight up metal. And certainly for myself and for Scuzz, that was much more musically our wheelhouse. Even as much as Black Mass still has some of those crossover punk and hardcore elements to it, we wanted to do something go even completely past that. And I think at that time too, Travis was about to become a dad. So, I don't think touring full time for him was really something that was going to make a lot of sense. So I remember telling Rick when we were doing the demo, you should sing in this band. Like, you should be the front man of this band. Just get your James Hetfield on. So as soon, as long as you say those 2 magic words, Rick will go, okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So
that was funny.
We did that demo. Just the two song demo, and then we got a little bit of buzz from it. Certainly having the name recognition of members of This Is Hell certainly helped push that band a bit at first. But for me, having always been, I think bass player 3, probably more in Enwell. I was bass player 4 in This Is Hell. Being, one of the first guys in that band, it really, to me, it felt like this band's kind of like my baby. And like, I felt a bit of a stronger attachment to that. So, and also at that, I had never really ever gotten to contribute to writing so much. Not necessarily because it's like, well, you can't write for this band. Certainly not that, but just maybe my own ability to actually write stuff that I thought was good or that other people would think was good. So Extinction A.D, well, I should say the first piece of music I ever contributed was Enforcer EP. The Enforcer was a song a song Rick and I wrote together. So, I felt a lot more confident in being able to contribute stuff musically. So, then that was sort of the start of Extinction A.D. I think we went and did the demo, then we did the EP with Jay Moss after that. And it just kind of went from there. So.
Sweet. Yeah. Those 2 EPs for sure. Is the second one a full length? Now I'm having a brain fart. I didn't.
For
excuse me. The Extinction A.D.
So we had a 2-song demo. Then we did a 4-song EP, and then I did Faith Killer full length and the Decimation Treaty full length.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Faith Killer. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I was trying to think if that was an EP, and I didn't want to misspeak saying that. So
yeah.
Okay,
nice.
That
was our first full length. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a cool point. I mean, as far as you mentioned, as with This Is Hell, kind of it had been a band that had been running for so long and having such a powerful course. I mean, as far as even for me, like my interest in hardcore, This Is Hell was always one of those things where I heard about them coming around, or I heard about the band, putting out new stuff. I was always there. I absolutely loved that stuff. But I think it's a cool point to hear from a fan and just kind of all these years of wondering, like what the hell happened? Like, did they just completely disband? Was it a big breakup? I think it's cool, where every once in a while things just kind of, work themselves out as like, let's step aside and, take on other endeavors. And, it's not like some other big drama filled thing. This
totally.
has definitely been something, just in my research and, me talking with you guys, I really, really appreciate hearing. And, there was a post a little while back, something about maybe recording some new songs. And I'm like, oh shit, there you go. It'd be sick. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it was never a like a fuck you, I hate your guts, I don't want to do this anymore. It was never that at all. It was just, I think some people were burnt out, and certainly, with Bastards Still Remain coming out and stuff like that, and then them doing the, the 10 years of sundowning stuff, like the band never died. It just didn't become the priority for a lot of us.
Yeah, sure. And also something, too, with you mentioning as far as with Extinction A.D. being something where, you were there kind of at the birth of it and, the contributing thing, that's always something. I mean, I can, relate to as far as being in different bands that have been around for a little while and then starting something yourself, there's a little bit of a different attachment to it.
Yeah, totally. That's 100%. And I mean, that was from day one. I felt something a bit different with it.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to dig into a little bit, from this all kind of being something, generated around This Is Hell. I'm asking everybody that I'm interviewing here, we're doing a little bit of a This Is Hell March Madness.
Right on.
We're doing favorite tracks from each album here. So
okay.
I wanted to ask you, we're going to start off with the demo or EP, whichever, you would prefer. What's your favorite track off of either of those?
I would say probably Heaven Sent, Hellbound.
Ooh, I'm right there. All right. Okay. All right. What do you got for Sundowning?
So this is tough because I really like I said, I was a fan of the band way before I ever got to play with them. It's really hard for me to decide between Prelude and Here Come the Rains, but I would probably, because, and maybe I have a unique experience because I played both bass and guitar in This Is Hell.
Yeah.
Prelude is one of the most fun songs to play live, regardless of instrument. So I think for me, Prelude is my favorite song on Sundowning.
Prelude. All right. And then we got Misfortunes. What do you got off that bad boy?
Again, this is another one where it's like I absolutely adore this record.
Yeah.
I would probably pick any one of the first three songs I could probably pick, but I think I'd go Reckless.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Reckless. Band. All right. Weight of the World is up next. This is a tough one for me personally.
Yeah. So, a lot of my opinions of these songs are based off of how much fun they've been to play live.
Yeah. Okay.
So Weight of the World is going to be the one that bucks that trend, and it's emphatically Snake Eyes. And we never played that when I was in the band. We never played Snake Eyes when I was in the band, but
that's a sick song. That's a sweet ender as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because it's a little bit left of center for that album, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It's slightly different than everything else.
And the end has like a vocal feature, right? Now I can't think of who the hell it is, but
it's Zach from Bane.
There you go. Okay.
Zach
Yeah. Very sick.
Yep.
That's always so cool too. I always thought that was kind of different, where it's like the very last basically vocal of the album is someone else. No other features anywhere else. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, it's funny because you hear it and you don't even think like who like singing La Di Da on a crossover record, but it's like at no point does it not make any sense at all,
Yeah. Totally. What do you got for Black Mass?
It's got to be Acid Rain. Which
tough.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. I remember when we were listening to the demos of that, Rick sent us the demos. We were starting to learn it. I remember thinking The Reckoning was like, this is the song for this album. We should open with it. It's going to rule. And then we actually recorded them. Acid Rain was the first song, I think, that was fully completed that Travis had done vocals for and everything. And we listened back to it. And I remember turning to Rick and Travis and Scuzz, and we were like, this absolutely has to open the album. This song's amazing. So hearing it recorded for real completely changed my opinion. I mean, I liked it, but completely changed my opinion of that song. So
nice.
Acid Rain, hands down.
So initially a little bit of a different relationship, and then hearing it back, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's
for a world of hurt with this one.
Exactly.
Nice. What a Bastard Still Remain. This is the last one we got here.
I would probably pick Space Mountain, because I think it's my favorite name of any song too.
Yeah, definitely a little bit different.
Yeah.
I should have asked about that one. Shit.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll have Rick on, so I'll
You have to pick Rick's brain about that one.
Yeah. All right. So we got for the first little breakdown here, we have Heaven Sent, Hellbound, Prelude, and Reckless. What two out of those three would you choose for this next round?
Prelude and Reckless.
All right. And then we got Snake Eyes, Acid Rain, and Space Mountain. Shit.
Acid Rain and Snake Eyes. Having to choose next is going to be really hard.
All right, Prelude and Reckless. What would you choose between those two?
Oh, goodness. I'd go with Prelude. Mm-hmm.
And then Acid Rain and Snake Eyes.
Oh, that sucks. I'm gonna go with Acid Rain by a bee's dick. Acid
Rain. Oh my god. Trying to write this down and somehow I started writing bees. Fuck.
Yeah.
Not the track name.
No.
All right, so you got Prelude versus Acid Rain. Golly. That's gonna be sick.
It's gonna have to be Acid Rain simply because I got it tattooed on my arm. So
it's there forever, dude. Oh
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, what a sick opener for an album, and just like the opening in general. You know, along with that, if I can say, as far as a introduction to a track, the Instruments of Death from Extinction A.D. That intro, dude, the snare pop off to just holy shit. I have to say, from being a fan, man, bravo to you guys, because that song for the longest solely would be like a workout plan. Like just that song over and over, I would beat the fuck out of anything. You know, I was just like, man, and unfortunately I've never been able to see the band live. So hopefully when shows start coming around and shit, you know, we can kind of dig into that a little bit, and I can see you guys play that, because goddamn, that song rips. That's definitely a favorite of mine.
That was a live staple in Extinction A.D. I mean, probably, I would say we probably played that every show that I played with the band until I stopped playing with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what's so good about having that song open with the snare hits is it's so good coming right after something that you can just ring out on, and then just pop, 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 bam, diggity, diggity, diggity. It's you know, it's a very good, you know, you feel a pop with that live for sure.
Yeah.
For the 6 people that were there to see us.
God. All right, so this is our little finale here. You know, I asked you to bring along a couple of movies. You know, kind of have a couple of things that you had in mind, and this is horror or not. I wanted to mention a couple, and along with your movies that you brought, I brought 4 movies that the first letter of each spell out Pete, P-I-E-T.
Cool.
So, cool. But so I'm gonna show a movie, and then right after ask you about one of your selections, and just tell us, you know, a story about it. If you saw it in the theater, you first time you rented it, anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So first of all, what I brought here is a '90s movie here for the letter P. Have you ever heard of the movie The People Under the Stairs?
Yes.
Tell me about that bad boy. Were you a fan of it? Did you not like it?
So I was I was very scared of horror movies as a kid. And I remember that one specifically. My best friend's older brother was super into horror films, and he tried to make us watch that. And I think my buddy and I ran out of the room crying, just absolutely terrified of that movie. I have not watched it as an adult. I need to go back and see it again. I've done that.
Such a good one.
With some older horror films, like, you know, revisiting like Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and stuff like that. So,
okay,
yeah,
nice. All right, what did you have first up here?
So I decided I was gonna give you sort of my favorite horror movies, and I might have like super like, you know, basic taste when it comes to horror movies or something, but. So obviously, the first horror movie I ever saw was Nightmare on Elm Street, and I had trouble sleeping for maybe about 2 months after that, because I was convinced Freddy was going to murder me in a dream. Full on convinced that was going to happen. And I went back and I watched it again, maybe like a couple of years ago. And I still, you know how sometimes you go back and you watch older films and it's like, oh, that's cheesy, or like you can see the prosthetic or blah, blah, blah. That movie holds up like fine wine. It really does. Totally.
Yeah. Do you remember how you kind of got over that fear, or, you know, what was it, something where it just stuck around and you told yourself like, look, man, the shit's not real? Like, do you remember kind of getting over? Oh, okay. I
had to basically, you know, was it self-actualization? I had to tell myself, Freddy doesn't exist. It's a movie. Like, you're being dumb. You're not going to die in your sleep. You may die in your sleep, but it's certainly not going to be from a burnt up dude with, you know, knife fingers. So.
Yeah. Have you seen the remake of it?
No, I've heard, you know, there's people who love it, people who hate it. I love Jackie Earle Haley. I think he's a great actor. So.
If they ever remade it again, I would really hope that they would get him back and just have somebody better make the movie, because that dude is so creepy and would be perfect for that. And even, I mean, there were certain scenes where he did actually a really good job, but it was just surrounded by garbage for the most part, unfortunately, just from all sorts of different choices. So yeah, it sucks that
Freddy is such an iconic character, you know, and it's, you know, it's sort of the same thing as like Darth Vader or even, I mean, this was even, I think, the Joker. You know, Jack Nicholson was such this iconic thing. Granted, I really like The Dark Knight, and I like Heath Ledger's version of it very much so. But, you know, Freddy is such this iconic character that, you know, trying to do it again, yeah, that's tough to pull off, even if, you know, but so I haven't seen it. I can't comment on his version of it, but Jackie Earle Haley's the man. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something where if it was maybe playing on TV or some shit, you know, just check it out for a second, but I wouldn't chase after it by any means.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got, and this is probably my deepest of cuts, but I wanted to see if you ever saw this bad boy at a Blockbuster near you or anything like that. We got Ice Cream Man. You ever hear this one?
I have definitely seen that cover, and as a kid, I would have stayed far away from it.
Okay, it's you know who Clint Howard is?
Yes, yeah.
He was in like The Water Boy, and also yeah. So he plays, he's basically the psychotic murderer who just so happens to be an ice cream man, and there's all sorts of silly props and goofy shit, and man, it's something that's funny if you ever get a chance, and it's something that you can watch with friends too, where it's just like, what in the hell is going on? Right. You know, you can kind of sit back and not really pay attention.
Theater 3000 kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's real cool.
Yeah, for sure. That was the one that I had, was Ice Cream Man. What's the second one you had?
So it's actually funny. My second one starts with an I as well, and it's a good chronological segue. So for me, another film that I saw that absolutely scared the shit out of me was the original It, the 2-part miniseries.
Oh yeah.
And
totally.
Tim Curry, I remember renting it one summer and putting it on, and then you got little Georgie with his little boat going down the thing, and then all of a sudden, you know, it goes down the drain, and there's terrifying Tim Curry in clown makeup. And just, again, much like with Nightmare on Elm Street, I would take a shower and I would stand on the other side of the shower away from the fucking drain. Because of that one scene where it comes out of the drain in the locker room. And I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere near the drain. I would try and wash my hair with my eyes open, so that I was like, I always had an eyesight on the drain just in case, you know?
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, that's funny. You're always coming out with red eyes from soap and shit, and your parents are like, what the hell are you doing in there?
I look like it myself, you know? That was, and there's something about the way that late 80s, early 90s films were shot is sort of much different than nowadays. You know, I think people, you know, they love, you know, you always get like the Dutch angle in horror films now, and all these like shaky things, or there's that weird thing from the It remake where it's like it's locked onto his face, so his face isn't moving, but everything else is. And there's something, and I always think of this scene from the original It. It's when the fat kid, and I'm blanking on his name, he ends up going towards where that, you know, that big sewer building is, and then his dad, who died in the war, is standing on the side of the swamp, and it's telling you, oh, you know, I live over there now. And it's this wide shot, and the dad's like kind of in the middle ground, but like everything's in focus. And something about that is just, and probably with a little bit of the film grain from the 35 millimeter, it is just, that scene to me is just, it gives me chills thinking about it.
Totally. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because that's one of those things with that movie where a lot of people right off the bat mention the sewer or mention Pennywise, different things, but there is some really terrifying shit, you know, like even them flipping through the original book, and he's like hanging on the poles and shit, coming closer, you know. It's like there's a lot of stuff that's actually really creepy, and I think that's the reason why it, you know, holds the stand or the test of time there.
Yeah, that first half, that first part of the miniseries to me still is like, I have a hard time watching it to this day. Admittedly, I liked the remake. I know there's a little bit more true to the book, but to me, it's just, it doesn't have the same quality to it that the original did.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree, and I like that you brought that up too, because that's not something that I hear all the time. So yeah, that's a good part of it. So this next one here, I was gonna do the original, and I thought the new one there's a little bit of a remake here, and maybe you might have caught sight of either one of these. But I was going to ask for the letter E. I was going to ask about the Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen any of these? This is actually the remake of it. This is the newer rendition of it.
I watched. I think I started watching that one, the remake, and I wasn't in love with it. But Army of Darkness is like one of my favorite films.
Yes.
Shop smart. Shop S smart.
So
I remember my buddy and I, he rented that. He's like, you got to see this. You know, we were like in middle school or something, and just the two of us just howling, like the one undead guy running around in like the Reebok pumps, which he's definitely just like an extra that they probably were like, here's $50 to be in this film.
Right.
And then so from there, I then went back and I watched, you know, Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. And it's funny that, you know, the original to me is trying to be a horror film, but, you know, it's still got some camp to it just because it's Bruce Campbell. That's what it is. And then Evil Dead 2, I love that they're just like, we're going to just full on embrace the ridiculousnly. And then you have Army of Darkness, which is just out of control.
Goes even further.
Yeah. So I trying to remember, there's something like the first Evil Dead, right? Isn't she's like is in the woods, and there's something with like tree branches, and she gets like sucked into the ground, right, and stuff.
She ends up getting like raped by the branches and the tree. Yeah,
and I
Rough.
remember being like, oh, this is very different than the original. I can't say I loved it, but
okay, yeah. I mean, and fair enough too. That's one thing, you know, with remakes and with different things too. You know, I actually thought that this was one of the more decent remakes that have come out. You know, as far as it not being the same exact thing, you know, not trying to make the same scene for scene movie as what the original one was, but still like entertaining, you know, to where there's many others out there that did not work though. for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what was the third one that you had that you brought here?
So this is, and this, you know, this might be a controversial opinion. My favorite horror movie ever, which is the first Blair Witch Project. That scared.
Oh shit.
So I grew up in rural Connecticut. I used to go camping all the time. So, and it was the first time I'd ever seen, and this, correct me if I'm wrong, first time I'd ever seen sort of like that found footage style.
I completely agree.
So much of, and I think, you know, whether people agree or disagree that movie's scary, what grabbed me about it is that area is so exactly like where I grew up and like the woods that I used to go riding my bike in and like camping with buddies and shit. So it felt very real to me. Certainly the setting. And I'm always a fan of, especially in horror, I prefer the letting your mind do the scaring for you. You know, so you get glimpses and hints of things that might be out there, and there's a lot of, you know, like them stumbling upon these weird, you know, like little wooden statues or characters or things that are built and stuff like that. So letting your mind fill in the blanks, or, you know, run away with itself and kind of figure out, you know, like, well, what is really doing this? What's happening? That's why to me is, and I mean what followed it in the Blair Witch thing is total dog shit to me, because to me they caught lightning in a bottle with that first one, and the fact that it's like, you know, I went to film school, so the fact that it's like a student film, it's like it's a student thesis, is so fucking cool. Yeah, just everything about that to me was just they struck gold, and that film to me just, and I saw it in the theaters twice. You know, I rented it a handful of times. Such a good movie.
Yeah, you know, that's so cool, and I think it's funny where you bringing up, you know, some people saying that it's not scary or whatnot. I feel like after people had realized that it wasn't real was when people were like, this isn't good. Scared. You know, it's like, yeah, I wasn't even scared. That shit wasn't scary. It's like, no, dude, that movie was fucking scary. And then it was, I don't know if it was necessarily, I can say my sister, or she had said friends that had gone to see it, but when they went to the theater, before the movie had started, the lights kind of came back up, and like a stewardess went up in front of the theater and told everybody, like, out of, respect for the families, if you would please, be respectful to the film. This actually happened. There was da 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 da. And it's like,
Oh my God.
you hear shit like that, and then that, like, that's just kind of things in a theater experience that you don't have anymore either. Where it's like they full on pitched this movie as like this was real life. Like people fucking died.
Yeah, right.
It was like crazy.
Yeah, and it's the era too before things would get spoiled in 5 minutes on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, the internet was there, but it's like if you wanted to like go dig around to see if the Blair Witch was real or not, you would have a hard time, and it would probably cost your parents a shitload of money for dial-up, So,
God damn it, you asshole! I told you that movie wasn't real.
Stop downloading stuff on LimeWire, kid. Showing our age here. But yes, that's like, again, I think that goes back to what I said about it being, it was lightning in a bottle. They struck gold. It was everything about when it came out, and just everything. It was perfect storm for that film to really scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, totally. I think you and a lot of other people as well, and myself. I know I was way too young. I can't think of when the movie even came out, but I was way too young when I originally saw that, and that movie fucked me up for a little bit. And even specifically just that end scene where the kid's in the corner, and everybody talks about that. But God, it was just so simple, but it was too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last up, I've got for the letter T here. I was going to see if you've ever seen or heard of this bad boy here, the old Tremors.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. All right, tell me about the first time you saw this movie, man.
Once again, it was the same friend's older brother who showed me Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice. Okay.
Tremors. And I certainly wasn't as scared by it, but man,
so
watching
fun.
People shoot big fucking dirt worms with guns and stuff is just the cooler shit. Is the elephant gun, is that in the first one or is that the second one?
I think it's the first one.
I think it's the first. The guy's just in the room and there's just guns all along the wall, and he's like taking one down and doing it, and then he looks and it's just the elephant gun. Oh my God.
Awesome.
And we're just like, like cheering, like so psyched.
Yeah, that was certainly one, I think, and with you mentioning Army of Darkness too, where, horror kind of has this fine line with comedy and with humor as well, and a sense of, adventurous fun. And Tremors has always been one too, where it's like, you don't have to take it seriously at all.
Right.
You don't have to be scared by it. Maybe by, the effect of if it was actually something that could happen, it'd be a little creepier, but what a fun movie, and anybody that hasn't seen it, like I always recommend that because it's a good silly, fun time for sure.
Mm-hmm. Love Tremors.
Yeah, sweet. All right, those were the four that I picked. I absolutely love the ones that you picked as well. Blair Witch is one that I don't hear. I hear, people still talk about it, but I think it's one that deserves a lot more appreciation than most people give it. I think it's kind of gotten a little bit fallen behind from, people being like, oh, that shit wasn't scary, and kind of forgetting about the first time that they had watched the movie and were scared shitless of it.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Yeah,
so
I've never
you
made
had mentioned that
to the contrary, so that movie's fucking scary.
Yeah, nice. You had mentioned that you'd gone to film school?
Yeah, so that's actually how I ended up in Long Island in the first place. Is I went to film school at CW Post. So
oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, just did learned how to shoot, edit, write, all that kind of stuff, and then it's actually I'm a video editor now, so it's how I keep the lights on.
Dude, I didn't even know any of that. I in my research and different things, I had different things jotted down, but we're gonna have to dig into that. We're at an hour now, unfortunately, but
sure.
I'm gonna have to have you back on and kind of dig into some of that because I love hearing about different stuff and different things in the film industry as well, and going to school and racking your brain a little bit about that. So that'd be sick to dig into. And
I actually had a list of some other horror films to talk about too.
Sick. Yeah. Awesome. That rules. Well, cool, man. Honestly, this is wrapping up our interview here, but if you have anything that you want to give, a shout out as far as socials or different things that you have going on, this is your opportunity, dude.
Hey, I mean, Extinction A.D.'s got a new record coming out that's gonna kick some ass. I think T.I.H might be working on some stuff too. So there's definitely music that's going to be coming out, and I think as someone who's band adjacent these days, instead of being firmly in one, the best way to hear and keep bands around that you like and you want to listen to is to pick up music, stream it, get some merch if you can, because for 95% of bands, touring is what keeps them going. So if you love bands you love that are smaller, anything to help them out, buying stuff on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, shit like that is big time help. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Look, man, this has been so fun. This has been great.
Yeah,
And
hell yeah.
I love hearing some of the insight there. And I'm going to have you back on to talk maybe some straight up movies. So it'd be sick, man.
Absolutely.
All right, dude. Thank you so much once again for your time. This has been sick. Lo-Fi Horror Guy, my dude, Pieter Vandenberg. Is it all spaced out, your last name? I gotta clarify that.
Yeah,
okay, I fucked that up. I'm sorry, dude.
No, dude, all good. It is all good. I mean, I've been lived my life with people calling me Pieter and Pieter and all sorts of things. So
okay, well at least I got that part right.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right, dude. Well, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe, my man.
Will do. You too, bud.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-Fi Horror Guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.